All right, welcome everybody. My name is Ian Blackburn, and we are ready to zoom into wine. Wow, do I need a glass of wine? We have been so thankful for the amazing support this year. December has been amazing here in the summer. Just a really busy moment. There we go. And it's been pretty intense getting packages delivered across the country. You know, we send stuff out. It says ETA the 20th on UPS, and it shows up 2 days early, and no one's there. It's like stuff like that's happening left and right. But we'll enjoy the ride. It's great to be busy and very thankful for that. Every Wednesday we get together with some great people and zoom into wine. We talk about particular grape variety, maybe a particular region, and really get some amazing people together to kind of explore the space. You know, I was discussing this with my team, and it's not so much we're not trying to sell wine here necessarily, but really build community around great wine. And of course, if you happen to buy wine from us, that's a beautiful thing. But wine can be bought everywhere. And so we want to make this video content for people everywhere. And if you find our store through the Zooms, great. If you just buy the wine somewhere else, well, uh, hopefully we'll eventually see you again. The the wines that we're going to taste tonight are really special, great. I just got back from Italy. I'm full of energy for Italian wines. In fact, when you drink Italian wines for like 6, 7 days in a row and you come back, it's really hard to kind of readjust. You really are missing that Italian sensibility to the wine. They are drilling with acidity and character and tannins, and nothing is slight or elegant. Everything is pounded into submission. You know, your palate is going to be maxed, and you start to adjust to that kind of energy. That's what we're going to do tonight. Barolo versus Brunello. We got three wines. I'm not going to tell you in advance which is which. You've got the jars. Let's go into it. Let's start with our first wine. Uh, and, you know, if you find out which was which in advance, that's fine. But I like you to taste it and kind of judge the wine before you know what it is. So that's kind of my game tonight. If you have 2 or 3 glasses that you can use to kind of pour them in advance and maybe compare and contrast, that's also pretty fun. If you're just using one glass like me, enjoy each one to the max. We got one person that doesn't have the Zoom link. Give me one moment. Erica, did you find the Zoom link? We send it out, we practically send it out like 17 ways. Once from our regular email address, once from somebody else's email address, and it is possible that these things go to Zoom to your spam file, your promotions file. So I'm just going to let somebody know that they are going to get a call from my assistant who is working here late because we are busy. My assistant's contacting you now. All right, let's go. Wine number one. Here it is. We were in Piedmont and went to this winery and drank this wine. This is a cool little wine. Now, It is technically in the Barolo zone, although this is not a Barolo. This is a Verduno, one of the many major parts of the Barolo zone. I think it's 11 total. And Verduno has a couple of unique varieties uh, that are indigenous to Verduno. This variety almost went away, and this winery brought it back. It's called Pelaverga, and they do it really well. It's really hard. It's very subtly different than a Nebbiolo based wine, but let's take a look at it, swirl it around, smell it, see that kind of light. If you just look at the color of this wine all to itself, you might be like saying, I don't expect this to be that powerful. But Italian wines are that way. They don't have the color and the inkiness, but they have the power, the concentration, the energy, the zip, the tannin. Basadone is the name for the wine. Let's go through it. We're up in Piedmont, Verduno, Castello di Verduno. It's owned by the family called Berlotto, and there are many factions of the Berlotto family. Many of them are actually owned by Gabriella and Franco. Uh, and so this property is one of several that they control in the Verduno area. They have a brand under their own last name, under Gabriella's last name, called Berlotto as well. We went through a little walking tour of the cellar of Castello di Verduno. We had a phenomenal lunch, because we were there the first week of December. So the winery kind of goes the Castella, which is open for people to stay there and stuff like that. They have some rooms, they have winery there. But in December, it gets a little colder and they close. So they said, you know what, we're not going to receive you at the Castella. We're going to walk down to the local restaurant. Well, local restaurant had a little chef there, chef owner, and she did everything. She prepped for us. She knew what the menu was going to be, so she prepped perfectly, and she served and she cooked and she served and she cooked, and it was a magnificent experience. Really, really one of the top little meals that we had. Everything was so on the button. She was very exacting. She's a very successful money manager who got to a particular age. I'm not sure how old she was, and she just said, I'm out. I want to cook. I want to do this. And she wants to do it for herself. Her restaurant has like 15, 16 seats, and we took up almost all of them with the winemaker. And it was just a magnificent meal. And we had this wine with our dinner. The hills of Verduno, looking out towards the Dolomites, towards the Alps, and everything's grown on steep slopes. Most of them are southwest or southeast facing. On the northern side, things don't grow all that well for grapes, so they grow a lot of, maybe alternative crops, maybe hazelnuts, uh, could be grazing land, it could be other type of a product, but the grapes like that southwest, southeast exposure. Typically, that's the way it is. Not always, not by law or rule, but just by selection. I see a couple of chats. Yeah, all these wines are going to be very food oriented. This is not necessarily, unless you are really into Italian wines, you're probably not going to sit down and say, hey, I just want to sit down and watch a movie and drink a bottle of Barolo. These wines really will, you'll need to get up and grab some salumi, some cheese, something to soften the tannins and let the wine do its magic. There's so many great foods though that could go with these wines. Uh, in this part of the world, the primary first course is called vitello, and it is a crazy dish of veal and tuna sauce. I can't explain how tuna sauce made it to this region, but it is absolutely spectacular. The veal, a lot of people are a little sensitive to eating veal, but not if you're going to Barolo. You gotta be able to eat the veal. It is so important there. And tartare is also made from veal. They do some other dishes as well. Um, Obviously, some different types of things in December with truffles became available. Some really beautiful pastas. Um, and what else did I eat that would have been perfect? I guess we had a little bit of duck, we had a little bit of lamb, and yeah, so these wines are pretty versatile in the food category. You just need something a little fatty, and something that will kind of act like a speed bump for some of this crazy acidity. Look at every town looks like that. It's like a little island on the top of the hill, surrounded by vineyards, surrounded by trees and forest. Just really a magical spot. Again, this grape variety that we're tasting in wine number one is indigenous to Verduno. Here's how you spell it: Pelaverga, and it is a wine that you can access sooner. You don't have to wait for this wine. It is delicious, priced nicely. I think this wine's right around 30 bucks. I'm gonna get to that slide. Um, and the filter here is maybe turned on a little bit, but this is what it looks like. Almost, maybe the green's gone now because it's December, but reds, purples, golds, it's magical. Magical. Couple more chats coming in. Keep them coming. Hi, Erica. Good to have you. Definitely taste the strawberry. Fantastic.
Hi there.
Great to have you on board.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
The nose, it's almost doesn't matter what grape variety you're going to grow in this part of the world. There's a lot of minerality that's going to be focused here. That hillside really helps ensure that minerality is part of the wine statement because when you're growing on hillsides, you don't have a lot of thick, abundant dirt that kind of motorizes high yields. The yields here are teeny, the berry sizes are teeny, and you can really feel the connection with the rock. There's just an innate Italian marks throughout this wine. Accelerated acidity is how I'm describing it. Just really high, bright, zesty acidity. Really hard to distinguish this from a Nebbiolo, although when we get to the Barolos, which are made from Nebbiolo, and we get to the more expensive ones, you're going to see the information really compressed and this kind of elongated, softer version that we're tasting here is enjoyable right now. Great price, wonderful to try it. Kind of to prep your palate too, because this is like tiptoeing into the pool of tannins that we're about to experience. Right about 30 bucks. And a delicious little find, an indigenous grape variety from a great producer. It's a wonderful value proposition. Not the easiest wine for a wine store to sell a lot of because how many people get a chance to ever even learn about Pelaverga unless you go to Verduno. But this is what I would like to find for our store to make us a little bit different are little things like this that are really well done, that are marquee. They're not everywhere. Only a couple hundred cases come to America. And so this makes us a little bit different. And I think this wine will be good for years. It is almost bulletproof. It is delicious. And for that price point, it's a lot of wine. Let's move on to wine number two. Wine number two is from Tuscany, from Montalcino, and it falls in the category of Rosso. This is the young, fresh wine. It can be released pretty quick after vintage, whereas a Brunello, which we'll be trying in a moment, needs to be held for 5 years. And quite frankly, after 5 years, that wine's not really ready to be drank, but you can taste it, you can have fun with it, and you need to give it a little bit more time than that. These wines are big, expansive, and frankly, one of my hot takes today is to tell you that 2021 is one of the greatest vintages of all time. And if you can get a Rosso de Montalcino from 2021, you should. They're going to be very good and they are affordable and they are delicious. And this is no exception to everything I just said. One of my favorite women in wine is Amelia Nardi. She took over for her father, Silvio Nardi. Silvio Nardi was a great businessman and did very well because he patented uh, things, machines, techniques, things like that. And he even worked with Beyond Santi in Brunello de Montalcino and helped really get the wines to be as spectacular as they are. Now, his own estate has definitely risen as it found a fantastic importer, which I had the pleasure of working with. And so I developed a wonderful special relationship with this brand, with the family. I can tell you it's just a beautiful spot. It's not a, huge winery. Everything here is very family operated, humble, but hardworking and an awesome, very dependable producer, very high quality. Scores are always very good. Wine's always very good, and their land holdings are very, very good. Now, uh, we're not talking about a region that had, 100 years of history. Brunello de Montalcino has really been kind of coming towards, fame over the last 30 years. One of the interesting distinctions of Brunello de Montalcino or Montalcino is that these wines have very high average selling prices. The highest average selling price of any wine region in the entire world. And so with that, the investment community, hedge funds, things like that, which are really going out and gobbling up wine assets, are super interested in this region. Well, good thing for the people that live there, the Italians that live there. They don't want hedge funds buying up and taking over this region. So they're very resistant to selling. Property does not sell or come on the market very often. And if it does, everybody, is talking about it before it's made public. And probably the deal's done between in the Italian communities before it's made public. So hedge funds don't see a for sale sign on the internet or anything like that. Not saying it won't happen because they're willing to throw down big amounts of money, and a lot of these folks have huge, huge properties. So if you needed money, maybe generational wealth, you could get some of that. Anyway, back to this property. Nardi, wonderful people, great place. Um, and they own some really important vineyards as well. I did do a really nice little video about this wine. Let's take a look at that. Heroes of Brunello de Montalcino, and we are now with Sarah Klein. Sarah has an extensive Italian import expertise, has worked for some of the best in the business, and currently is time flies, Sarah.
Yes.
And honestly, Sarah, we are about to taste a wine from just a really amazing family. Um, I had a great time representing this wine back in the day. And we are talking about Tenute Silvio Nardi, the Rosso de Montalcino. Tell us all about this little gem. And we are tasting the Rosso, which we will talk about in just a second what that means as far as the category of Brunello de Montalcino.
Yeah, so thank you for having me and for also representing the estate of Silvio Nardi tonight. We're very fortunate with this producer. They're kind of, the atypical story here. They're not coming from, generations of winemakers. They ultimately are kind of seen as being foreigners to the area. They originally from Umbria. And it really is all because of Silvio and just, his kind of entrepreneurial aspect of how they paved their way into becoming one of the original producers of Brunello production. Silvio's families had, since the early 1900s, they were in the agricultural business, the farming component for making plows. And his history comes back that he would basically come into the area and sell his plows and his farming equipment to the people that we know who are iconic from this area, like Biondi Santi and Chachi Piccolomini. And basically, they're the ones who said, we're investing in you with your products. We think that you also should invest here with what we're doing in this kind of, emerging wine scene. This is many moons ago, many decades ago. And it was in 1944 that, he came in and started buying some land. It was 1958 that they started making their first vintage of Brunello. So if you put that just in the category, they were the sixth family in production, for being foreigners, just to be some of the originals here. I really love highlighting that about them.
Right.
And, it was specifically this one plot that Silvio bought into, Montalcino, that really has, become the integral part of what this estate is and what it's become and what it's going to be even further down the road, and how it even affects just the Rosso. This little plot that's southeast of Montalcino, their primary estate that we're looking here is northwest of Montalcino. This is the area of the Casale del Bosco. You can see that's surrounded by the forest, which is what the word Bosco is enhancing here. And this is where you have a lot of the regular Brunello production as well as the Rosso production. But this little plot of Montalcino that now is considered to have some of the most heirloom Sangiovese Grosso, the varietal for Rosso and Brunello production in Montalcino. And it was his daughter Emilia who basically worked with the University of Siena and the Ministry of Agriculture to categorize this specific clone of theirs of Sangiovese Grosso, of narrowing it down, vines, and just how it grew, the shape of the bunch, the canopy itself. And they got basically 5 clones of Sangiovese Grosso approved from that single vineyard into the catalog of clonal selection. So they have their own clones called Nardi 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wow, which now is basically the primary, use of their plantings. So everything from their single vineyard production of Montalcino to their classic of the regular Brunello, and even here to what you're having tonight, the Rosso, is basically their own indigenous fruit from their estate. It couldn't get more organic as we say, terroir expressive, especially coming from this area, from really, Chachi Piccolomini, Biondi Santi, these are also some of the other producers who have this, but that really is what sets this family who are considered foreigners, apart from everybody else in the category.
Now, Rosso is the wine that is made, maybe it's by a separate lots or grade selection or maybe a barrel selection. Every winery kind of has a different formula for where their Rosso is coming from.
Yeah.
But Rosso doesn't have the same laws as a Brunello di Montalcino. Rosso can be 1 year old, right? Is it 1 or 2?
No, I think you have to do at least 2 or 3 years of aging before you
Okay.
can release it. But ultimately, yeah, if you think just the requirements of Brunello, which is 5 years of aging, you can't just sit there for 5 years. What are we going to be doing? Obviously, people, they're making something, they need to sell it. And that's kind of what Rosso can do for you for the interim of just while you're waiting for, the maturation of the Brunello, but also something else that's a little bit more everyday that you can enjoy. Rossos, they always have this really great elegance to them, and it shows, the little softer, fruitier side of the Sangiovese Grosso, not quite to when it gets to that, full throttle level of when it's at the maturation point like Brunello. So it's always so food friendly in that way and just easy to enjoy. And, because of it too, it's maybe a little bit more medium bodied versus, as full body association with Brunello.
There's a look in the caves that are underneath that property that
Yes.
visiting. I got to visit Amelia a couple years back, and just a wonderful little property, certainly boutique,
Mhm.
and family's very hands-on and really optimal spot. And if you've ever had a chance to meet her, she's just salt of the earth, one of the best people you can meet.
Well, and someone who's really had to, stand up for herself. She took over for her family's estate after her father's passing. And, she was very much a young pup in her mid-20s. This was, way back in the 80s too, just when women weren't quite associated of having roles in the family, especially in the wine industry at that time, and especially in this area. And she's been, the president of different associations for Montalcino and really has become one of the, the pioneers for the area. So something we always like to attribute back to her of just, she's a very regal and elegant woman, but she's definitely left her mark along with her father here in Montalcino.
And tonight we're tasting the 17, which shows you just how lovely these things age, even though right after the 17, we'll be moving into the 2020 or 2021. And that price point.
I'm going to stop the
Heroes
video
of Brunello
now
de Montalcino, and we are now with six.
and move forward. We are on the 2021. That video was shot, I don't know, maybe a year ago. And Sarah Klein is just a wealth of information. She's worked in the Italian wine industry forever. And I love having her commentary. But this is a look at the entire property there. See if I can talk again. Got something in my throat. I think it's almost gone. There we go. So the wine that we've had, the 2021, I've been soliciting comments. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to move on. But take a look at some of the beautiful topography here. You can see a little bit like Barolo, but not really, because it's not so densely planted. There is a lot of land that maybe they're speculating which spots, which facets of their diamond will work. Not every spot is going to give you super high quality, long aging Sangiovese Grosso. So they're dancing around a little bit, still kind of figuring it out. But this is a pretty vast spot. If they planted all the land, I couldn't imagine how much wine would come into the marketplace. And that's kind of the problem that we have with Chianti right now. They planted so much land to make Chianti. Back in the day when it was in a basket, it was demanded all over the world. They could not supply enough Chianti. But then you started planting in Super Tuscans and Montalcino and Rosso de Montepulciano, and all these areas started to grow, and all of a sudden we've got too much wine. So here, they keep the selection really high because it's expensive to make a wine that you're going to hold on to for 5 years. And that's why the prices of these wines can be very elevated. And that's also why Rosso is such an incredible little deal. Again, we're right around 30 bucks. Don't have much of this 21 left. When we made this PowerPoint, even it was probably early December. There's only a couple more bottles there, I think. This is a great little deal. I hope you guys enjoy it. 30 bucks a bottle. The next time I go to buy this wine, it'll probably be in the 22 or 23 vintage. 22 vintage. It'll be 22 vintage. Very shortly. I actually think they're sold out of the 21 and we're waiting for the 22. That's what's going on right now with this particular wine. When we produce these things, we always keep in mind the future, what we're working on. I do a lot of events here in Los Angeles as well. Tomorrow night, we're doing a really crazy dinner. It's 1982 versus 2005. So some of the top wines of Bordeaux. I'm working with a Michelin star chef, and we do these type of dinners once a month to keep them very special. I move them around the city. They are not the cheapest dinner in the world. They are cheap when you consider what we're tasting. They are an incredible value proposition. Being able to taste the greatest wines in the world next to each other and to be able to compare two great vintages like 80, 82 and 05, hard to do. And we do it well. We have a team here polishing glasses, getting ready for tomorrow night. We put little numbers on each glass. We get a whole dining room ready. The private chef will be there to cook just for our group of 14 guests. The wine list is ridiculous. Take a look at it on our website, learnaboutwine.com, and you can sign up to receive our emails and learn about these very special dinners that we do. And we do a lot of stuff that isn't going to challenge your budget, but these dinners are definitely for people that really have that wine passion and want to have the Rolodex of information about how these great wines taste and age and are what their state is, compare the great vintages, compare the great houses. It's a lot of fun. Let's go to the next wine number 3. We're still in Montalcino. We're with Brunello. We're with one of my favorite producers, Castiglion de Bosco. Always makes great wine. 17 vintage is what we're tasting tonight. We're still in Brunello. This is a really, when I told you earlier that these people have large plots of land, check this out. 4,450 acres with 125 planted. That is ridiculous. That's like a small country. And they have lots of other things happening on the property, horses and farmland and forest and all kinds of stuff that keep their ecosystem in balance. Let's take a look at the video. If I remember correctly, we had a lovely guest help us out. Heroes of Italian Wine takes us all over Italy. And now we're going to Tuscany, to the hills of Montalcino. Our guest today is Selena
hospitality at Castiglion de Bosco. Did I pronounce all that okay?
Yeah, it's Castiglion del Bosco, but a really good pronounce. Yeah.
And you're representing your winemaker, Cecilia, who's in harvest at this very moment, probably, right?
Yeah, we just finished the last grape 3 days ago, and Cecilia is with us. It's been like 20 years in Castiglion del Bosco because her first harvest was 2003, actually. So it's been a long time with this really beautiful winemaker, and so vintage after vintage, yeah. We are in Tuscany. We are close to Siena. It's basically just half an hour far from Siena. That is the biggest city. We are in the wild countryside, and the small township famous for Brunello di Montalcino is actually Montalcino.
And one of the most beautiful places on earth. Did you tell me that you grew up here too?
Yeah, I basically grew up here. I was born in Siena and I grew up in this beautiful land. This is a picture of our only Brunello vineyard. On property, we have just one Brunello vineyard with 42 hectares of Sangiovese. That's the only grape we can use for the Brunello di Montalcino production.
And how large is the property?
So the property is quite big. It's located in the north part of Montalcino Township. And if we speak about the land, it's more than 5,000 acres, even if 80% is covered by forest. And all these beautiful images that you can see, it's actually part of the same property because we are divided in 3 departments. So the winery with this beautiful vineyard you can see, but also a really beautiful hotel. It's managed by the International Rosewood Group, and also a really nice golf club. So yeah, it's not just wine.
You've got it all there.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And here's the winemaker with
Here you can see our dog and our winemaker, our labels, and our beautiful cellar too. Consider on property we have just one part and one winery, a structure all together. So I'm in the office, but next to me we have the cellar, we have the fermentation all together. So the peculiarity of our property is to have 5,000 basically hectares, but 80% it's forest. That's our name, Castiglion del Bosco. Bosco in Italian means forest. And you can see this beautiful picture, this beautiful video from the upper part. All our Brunello vineyard is covered, and all around we have this really beautiful forest. And it's like really, really help us because it's really rich in biodiversity. So we have big fence against the wild boar and all the wild animals we have here. But if we speak about biodiversity, about the microclimate we have here, it's really, really one of the best thing we could ask for. This is our, was past the fermentation and aging room. So we are so traditional. We ferment in stainless steel tank for the maceration and fermentation of our grape. And then age in French barrels. Actually, we have both barrels and the typical Tuscan oval big cask. So if we speak about the style, we are so traditional. Our winemaker always looking for elegant wine, not too much opulent or strong.
And I will pay a compliment every time I taste the wines of your estate. It's not just that it's a beautiful property. These wines are truly at the top of the charts. Really, really beautiful, thoughtful, and I carry both the Normale, the
black label,
as well as the Riserva
exactly.
store. And these are incredible wines that you can enjoy. I also
will say that today we're really focused on tasting some of the great 2017 wines, because 15 and 16 got a lot of press, but 17 wines are really starting to show off right now. And you can see the group that's Zooming with us will be tasting the wine in just a moment. But it is a glorious wine. And
it's, yeah, really balanced between acidity and the tannins, and incredibly drinkable, because it's we have to think that yes, it's 2017 vintage, but if we count the winemaking process that is mandatory for Brunello, it's 5 years before we're able to release on market. So basically, it's 2017, but plus 5 years, it's really just 1 year old wine. So generally, it's too acid or too tannic, especially those vintage who are really well known to be a long aging potential, high aging potential. But the 2017 was really approachable immediately, so you can enjoy it now, but have also the acidity and to age more. That's not an easy thing.
the wine received 94 points from James Suckling.
Yeah.
And this is just one of the many great scores that it gets on an annual basis. But we'll taste with the group now. And it was great to be able to Zoom with you. You're a great ambassador for your brand.
Thank you. Our pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Heroes of Italian wine.
All right. So we tasted the 17. I just got the 19 in the store as well. We're starting to get a nice little library run on our Brunello and our Barolo selections. Some 16, some 17, some 18, some 19, and here come the 20s. So that's what I aim to do with the store, is to have a little like kind of a wine list approach. Prices will continue to keep going up as the wines age in the store, but these wines are just so special, and it's great to buy them young and to lay them down. But if you need something with a little bit more ready to drinkness, this is the type of a vintage that can help you. 17, a little warmer, a little drier, gave us a little bit more concentrated, ripe forward fruit. And stylistically, they don't treat every vintage exactly the same back at the winery. When they have a vintage that needs a little bit of more attention, like 17 did, you needed to have high selection. You needed to do some different stuff and make maybe some difficult decisions on which wines you were going to take into the Brunello program. Maybe you made a little bit more Rosso than you did Brunello. And so you kind of make those type of decisions with the information you get at harvest. We covered some of these slides in the video, but just a couple more magical photos. When you get to Brunello de Montalcino, some of the great vintages will start to sell for higher prices as they'll get kind of sucked up if they're, those perfect vintages. The vintages that work a little bit harder, and I'm not going to say 17 is a bad vintage. It's just not the collectible 16, nor is it the 21. I think 19 is also very elevated in its quality. So probably 16 and 19 are very similar. 21 just kind of takes it to another level. So we're going to get excited about that. We'll have those wines another year and a half. And coming up, another live event we have coming up here in LA is my Ultimate Champagne Challenge. I know some of you are in and around LA. This is worth driving to LA for. You want to come meet me at the Four Seasons in Beverly Hills on Doheny. It's called Four Seasons LA at Beverly Hills because they actually have 2 hotels in Beverly Hills. So this champagne challenge, I call it the Ultimate. This is a special edition where we're tasting some really older, we call them Tete de Cuvées and only Tete de Cuvées.
It's 14 wines, 14 guests, and the wines are ridiculous. One of the stars of the show is a 1997 Salon champagne valued at $2,000 a bottle. Take a look at the wine list and you can see the rest of what we're tasting. There's not a slouch in the group, but this will be a special gathering. We got a couple more seats available, but it is a go. We've got enough people. We're going to go forward with the tasting. And if you can make it to LA, it's a great way to end the year and come and see me live. Luigi Pira will be our next wine. We're now swinging back to Barolo for wine number 4. And wow, this wine was tasting great when we opened it. We pour these on Monday, we deliver them on Tuesday and Wednesday. And this is such a good producer. And let's go into it. Up in Piedmont, of course. Here we go. Serralunga is where we're at now. Serralunga is an appellation in a singular, those 11 spots in Barolo. Serralunga wines have a little bit more heft and muscle and take on some bigger personality. And Pira takes that and really shapes some beautiful wines. 24 months of aging in bottle. I've been to the property. This is what the hillsides look like. Again, Barolo is pretty much planted contiguously. There isn't any more Barolo to plant. They have a number of different single vineyard wines. This one is called Marenca. We're in Serralunga here, looking at the neighbors. Again, around that $70 price point. This is a 19 vintage. Let's talk about Barolo vintages just real quick. 21s aren't out yet. 20s are starting to come in. 19 is the current vintage at play. It is a very good vintage. So is 20, but 21 is that elevated next step up. Maybe a problem for Barolo is they've had so many good vintages. There hasn't been a bad vintage. Now, the elevated vintages like 10, 13, 16, and 19 are the better renditions. But you could go to a winery and taste their 17s and 18s, and they'll tell you our 17 and 18s are better than our 16s or our 19s. So it's very much a personal thing, and there's not a huge drop off at all. 14 got pretty hardly panned because the weather looked bad, but now you drink 14s and you're like, oh, the press got it all wrong. 14 is actually really good. It's just they didn't make very much because it got so punished by weather and rain. Oh, that was our whole slideshow on Pira. No video, so let's taste it together and break from the screen and just kind of give everybody a chance to hang out for a second and give me some comments. Natalie, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Ian. Thank you. Happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays to you. I hope your husband's doing well. Did he make dinner tonight?
He did not. I had a wine dinner this evening, so we had some Italian food before this tasting. So
All right. Well, this is a
it
good.
was perfect.
Awesome. Awesome. You're in the spirit.
hmm
Christine, are you enjoying with us? I can't hear you. Let me I'm gonna tap a button that says, if you see that button, it says unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, a couple of things I wanted to say. First of all, Verdugo. I was on the trip with you in Piedmont, as you know, and that Verdugo was amazing, and that lunch was unbelievable, off the charts. In fact, Deb and Mike and and Lynette and I talked about it all week. It was one of the highlights of our trip.
Totally.
Yeah, and I got to say that I got to look at my notes here, but let's see. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Number 2, amazing.
Awesome.
So I'm definitely going to order that.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I'm going to pass it on to my friends who like that particular type of wine because you're almost out of it. So
That's the kind of thing about a Rosso, when you get you get like a small window to buy some and
right.
it's gone, and then you have to wait for the next vintage. And maybe you picked a winner and maybe you didn't, because they don't really tell you about the Rosso for, maybe 6 months if it was a good one or not. So we all speculate. We listen to the chimes and the pipes and the tea leaves and stuff like that, and say, "Oh, I heard some good things about 21. Might want to buy some Rossos." But there's certain producers that really put a lot into their Rosso, and some of them actually carry almost Montalcino prices, Brunello prices, because they'll age them and make them from their better lots. Some people treat the Rosso like it's the stuff that are not going to put into
Little brother or the
yeah,
step.
yeah, they're gonna give it the stepchild approach. But Sylvia does a really pretty job. Her wine's very pretty. And there's some other producers that we're gonna taste a couple later that we'll talk about their Rosso as well.
Well, what I loved about this one is it hit you with the cranberry, which was boom, and
You're
then the,
talking about the Barolo now, number.
the number 2. I'm talking about the Rosa.
Okay,
Kind of hit you with the cranberry, and then it just softened to the rose petals. It was just lovely.
very good. Let's take it up to wine number 4, where we're at with Pira. And I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. This wine is ridiculous. It is so beautiful, so dense, so powerful, but yet at the same time, so likable. That's what great quality will bring. That's what Pira does. That's what Serralunga does. This is bigger content, kind of spread out. The muscle is there, but it's very much an enjoyable wine right now. Now we have decanted this, right? We opened it Monday, gave it some time. A little hint, if you're going to take a Barolo to dinner, you are not wrong to open it the day before and decant it. It is the thing to do with Barolo. I don't care how old it is, really. I mean, at one of our dinners we opened at 64. You don't want to do that with a 64. But uh, the a young wine like this, to be able to give it a good run. And these are decanted, but this tasted so good out of the bottle at the same time. I was like, whoa. The classic markers of Barolo, tar and roses. It took me a while to kind of say, okay, I agree, I can get there. I always smelt the tar element, like, you're standing next to a road and you smell that road tar kind of as a background aroma. Not That's not the only thing you're going to smell, because at the same time you're going to get this like red rose petal, and at the end of every row there are typically roses planted, and I think that's where it's not because of the roses that is occurs, but this is just a natural thing. If you pulled apart a rose and you pulled it petal by petal, you would start to smell some of that aromatic that we get here in the wine.
It tastes like maybe a little eucalyptus or something piney in there too.
Yeah, you get it's not because they're putting it in eucalyptus wood or anything. They're only using
Right.
French oak or maybe Slovenian big wood barrels. Very slow maturation, typically done in larger wood format, but at Pira they do use some smaller wood. Um, there's just so much power in this wine that they can ladle in a little bit more wood onto their wine style and give it a little bit of kind of a sweet vanilla and also
Yeah.
the tannin, the tar, the I almost get some like uh, uh, orange peel as well.
Yeah.
Maybe a little uh, savory side. You can almost smell some of the braised meat dishes uh, that you might want to have with a wine of this significant structure. But really generous, really in balance with everything, and this is just a super wine. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm glad I get to share it with you. I get to taste these wines with you, and that's part of the fun for me. And we're going to move on to our next wine. Why don't you guys put that in the glass and experience it really quick? Or I tell you what it is. I think you probably already know. You saw the slideshow, maybe. But if I asked you, could you look at this wine and tell me which one it is, Barolo or Brunello, just by the color? This is a Barolo, and the Barolo wines, their pH, their chemistry, the grape variety itself, the skin. It's not the thickest skin, and it doesn't release the most color. So usually Barolos aren't that intensely colored. You're going to get more color in a Sangiovese based wine, a Brunello wine. These wines they don't want to over extract color, because when you over extract color, you're over extracting everything from the grape skin. And these are tannic enough. They just want the right amount of character to come out to really express the place and the varietal, the vintage. And so we're tasting a really cool new producer. I said new producer, but it's new to America. They've been making wine for a long time, but you might get blown away when I show you the winemaker, Giulia Negri. That's her. She's one of the youngest winemakers in Barolo. She took the family property uh, and brought her personality to the wines, and the press went nutso. They love this woman, and Kermit Lynch grabbed the brand, brought it into their portfolio. I keep trying to buy her basic Nebbiolo because it's really good. It's always sold out and very hard to get. This is one of her single vineyards, Marassio. 150 years the family's been in the Piedmont area, but she comes in now and brings this energy and excitement, because who is this young, you know, winemaker of Barolo? And she's getting a lot of attention, a lot of attention. She's still small enough that it's kind of just the geeks that are talking about it, but it's going to happen. These are some of the most exciting wines in Barolo. I'm so happy to be able to taste this producer with you. Um, I got this 2020. This is a 2020 vintage, fairly recently. Um, and it just needs to be kind of tasted and explored with us so that we can give her style a little bit of a salute here. Really a daft touch. This is a very special vineyard, super high in elevation, also from La Mora. in a future, Christine, we're going to try to visit her. She wasn't available for this visit, but we will try in the future to go back and see her. We stay in Lamora, and we love Lamora. But this is a higher altitude site. Lamora wines tend to be a little on the more elegant side. Here's that eucalyptus word again, Christine, just to back up what you said, a little underbrush, eucalyptus, toasted nut,
Yeah.
tilled earth.
And I gotta tell you, Ian, I'm having a little truffle pate with this wine tasting, and it's just killing these wines.
In a good way.
Said you have something a little fatty with it, and
Yeah.
and it's like really making it.
Good.
And tasted it without the pate and with the pate, and it's really bringing out the wine.
Yeah. A nice fatty and rich flavor profile like that. That sounds good.
It's a truffle pate as well, so it's
You're on time. Truffles, you can almost, get a little bit of mushroominess, a little bit of that leafiness in her wine as well. Really a tender touch. Hazelnut is always something I have a hard time getting to in a Barolo.
and the tobacco, the hazelnut and the tobacco, I can definitely taste, and the cherry.
Can you taste the hazelnut? Because I have a hard time doing it. I don't really like hazelnuts that much. I don't mind it in chocolate, but if I had to sit and eat a bowl of hazelnuts, I'd probably suffer.
That's one of my favorite nuts. So
Well, we were in hazelnut country, and I'd eat them.
absolutely,
I like them better there. They're fresh, they're roasted, and all that stuff. But
yeah.
I tend to leave them behind in the bowl of mixed nuts behind.
But we're missing the food. I'll tell you. We're all four of us are talking about. It's so bland here, and it was so wonderful in Italy.
Yeah, it's
Thing is,
hard to come back.
yeah, and it's all local. I mean, they don't even serve anything from any other region. It's all about where they are.
There's no Thai food restaurants in town, no taco places either. They were very true to their Italian spots, and all the restaurants pretty much just had Italian wines too.
Yeah, absolutely. You really can't find a California wine in most of Italy. You can't find one.
And
Which
you look out from any vista that we find, where whatever town we're in, you're always going to see that peak over here. And Nebbiolo is the grape, and it's named after the fog, the wine of the fog, because every morning there's this like little hazy fog, and every night there's this little hazy fog. It just makes for these spectacular views, great sunsets. Um, uh, it's really a special spot. I hope you guys enjoy this wine as much as I did. This one gets up in price point. We're about $150 a bottle for the Giulia Negri single vineyard. She got 96 points on this wine. Who gave her that score? There are a lot of good scores from a lot of producers, but 96 from Suckling, 95 from Wine Enthusiast. Very limited, very small, really hard to get, really hard to find. You'll see it in the best restaurants in America. You didn't even see it that much in Piedmont, to be honest, because she's probably exporting a good chunk of her wine. As you talk to the producers, some of them don't like to distribute in Italy that much because the Italian restaurants don't pay their bills. So they're very careful about how much wine they send around the countryside. So they send it to the marketplaces that'll pay them, and that right now you can find a good amount of this wine throughout America. But if you put it on Wine Searcher, you're not going to see many cases of this in a lot of places. I fought to get this case, and I will be fighting for my 21s as well. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a wine that is very young, very youthful. but so elegant and so balanced and beautiful. Very elegant style inside of this powerful spot known as Barolo. Any other comments? We have some great tasters on the Zoom tonight, so I hope you guys feel inclined to chiming in. Lisa Tess, Thomas Ream, how you doing? Melvin J, Mr. Morris, good to have you again. Thank you for joining us.
It's been too long, Ian. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you, Melvin.
Hey, Ian, I'm here with my stepson Nico. We're thoroughly enjoying this. These are fantastic, although in general, everything tastes like 5 years too young to me. You know what I mean?
You're a man of a particular taste, Thomas. You like your wines mature.
I do, like me, you know?
At some point in time, you gotta taste these wines and then you lay them down, and that's exactly what these guys almost require.
I need a bigger cellar, Ian. That's what I
Yeah,
need.
that's
I hope Santa's bringing it to me. Yeah.
very good, very good. Do you have offsite storage for your wine, Thomas?
I don't. It's all here. I have. It's probably about 1,200 bottles at this stage, and I got to the point where I can't even keep it in the wine cellars anymore because I ran out of room. So I have it in a dark room, which is not the best place, but we have such temperate climate in Northern California, so it's all fun. I'm kidding on that, but it's one of these things where I do believe that red wines improve a lot with aging, and these especially would, I think, would benefit from that. But they're delicious, and I'm very impressed by the Giulia Negri as being a very elegant uh, presentation of Barolo. It's amazing, but they're all good. I could drink more.
I agree with you totally. I'm older. I have about 1,500 bottles, and I'm generally drinking wines that are 20 years old. And you really get into that world, and we tasted some young wine the other day, and it's like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah, let me talk about that for a second, because this is an interesting dynamic. You guys, Thomas, Melvin, other people on this Zoom, you're wine passionate. You buy wine. We all have wine at home. We all have maybe too much wine, right? And the generation that's coming up behind us isn't doing that. And this is where I think the wine industry will hopefully figure that out. And maybe the generation behind us will start to progress. I mean, remember, even you guys, Thomas, Melvin, you guys didn't start buying wine until you were like 40, right?
Yeah, the kids had to be out of school.
Right.
Well, Ian, I was a little bit younger than that when I started buying wine, and
Yeah. Were you collecting it, Tom?
collecting it. No,
Right.
no,
You would buy
but I
it
would
and
keep
drink
it.
it.
I
You'd
would
buy
keep it. No,
Right.
no, 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 no. I put it aside. Like one of my very first purchases, believe it or not, at the winery was a Ridge 74 Montebello, which I got for $10. Like when it was just released. You could walk up to Ridge and just show up, didn't need a reservation or anything, and they would pour
I
you
think that
whatever
wine
you like.
sells. Thomas, do you have any of that wine? Because that's about $1,400 a bottle now.
I'm aware of that. I drank it way too. Did wait about 5 years before I drank it, but it was way too soon for that. And you're doing 82 Bordeaux's. I bought them on pre-arrival back in the day. I spent about $13 a bottle on things like Pichon Lalande and so on. And it's like I can't imagine what those would go for today. I can't imagine what they would taste like today, even. But I held them, I don't know, 8 years, something like that, and you know. There.
You've got some good stories, and that's what they all are, right? They're like little time capsules.
Yeah.
You we buy them when we can, and we collect them. Maybe we buy them one at a time, maybe we buy them a case at a time, but they become like these memories that we can open up at a later time period. And I think the greatest thing is when we get to share them with the people we love, and kind of, it just is a something that's like, you know, it becomes sentimental because you've owned it for a while, and it's something that you procured and you have an expectation for. And I hope that the next generations figure this out and can support this business, because what the business is starting to do is react to the tail that's being dragged by the business, and starting to create wine don't need time. The
Yeah.
ones that are like drink me now, natural, fresh, and this is a challenge for us, because how much of the market will swing that way? How far will the pendulum swing to address that market? And how far away from what we're tasting today will they go? Because this is magic stuff that we want everybody to find out about, but you have to have certain, built-in skills. You have to have some patience. You have to want to be able to invest in the wine and to lay it down for a little while. So these are the challenges the wine industry is trying to figure out. We're all trying to figure out what's going to happen next. It's going to be a wild ride, I have a feeling. Let's go to the sixth wine. I think my mouse just died. That's not a good thing. Maybe we'll go to the sixth wine in just a minute when I get a little charge on my mouse.
Mm.
Well, we can taste it. You guys know probably by deduction which one it is. And I'll show you the slideshow in just a second. This is 2016 Brunello di Montalcino. Almost at that magic number. The 10-year number is the magic number for any great bottle of wine. This is Podere Ripi. We have shown their wines in the past. This is one of my favorite producers to turn people on to. This is their best wine from one of their best vintages. This is owned by the family that owns Illy Cafe. When he sold Illy, he, of course, made enough money for generations and bought some very special land, built a beautiful biodynamic wine operation, hired an absolutely sensational winemaker who's so dedicated to biodynamics. They do everything according to the lunar calendar. This is basically natural wine from Brunello di Montalcino. A little bit of sulfur at bottling, which takes it out of that kind of drink me now wine category. But they make this like 100, years ago. People would have done it very much in a really slow maturation way. And a super super bottle of wine. Let me show you the slideshow now. I think my mouse will work. There it comes. It tells you how much I've been working when it's a cordless mouse and the mouse dies. Let me get you in here. God, these wines are good. This one's so delicious, and it's got just enough ageable charm to it. This is the Riserva Brunello di Montalcino. I went to the winery. I sat with Sebastian, the winemaker. I tasted through a number of things. I bought as much of the Rosso from this producer that I could get in 16. Someone figured that out recently and came in and bought 12 bottles. Then a week later, bought 12 more bottles from me, and I only had 6 left. And that person came in and bought those like yesterday. So I think I found one more bottle from my shelf, and I put it on the website. The Rosso 16, they take
super high-end wine into their Rosso, and they age their Rosso 4 years before they release it. So it is really Brunello quality. It's also $50 Rosso. So this is their Riserva single vineyard. Here's a look at the wine facility. These are flowers that they're drying on, hanging upside down in the tasting room, which has a glass floor on top of the wine aging facility.
Oh, where you're going in Baja, the Valley of Guadalupe, they have some tremendous architectural the wineries have unbelievable architectural, like that, like what you're talking about. And the artwork it's amazing.
And the food.
Oh yeah, of course. And the wine.
That this winery is built like a spiral. See how that spiral goes down at an angle? Imagine it going down 6 floors. That's how this winery is built, in a circle all the way down. It goes down into the earth, and it is very special. Let's watch this little video. I'll probably cut it off at the right spot.
Heroes of Brunello de Montalcino.
Forward it up just a minute. Get me there. Boom.
Well, I do appreciate you making time for us. We're tasting now a wine called Podere Ripi. This is the Riserva Brunello de Montalcino from 2016. This is our only Riserva today, and it's a really special property, and I'm really excited that we get to include it in this showing. And it's a special property to me too. I really enjoyed going to this property and meeting with Sebastian, learning about the property. It's a really significant site. What can you tell us about La Ripi?
Yeah. So the property is so beautiful, and just the whole ethos of the company. So Francesco Illy started in around 1997, wanted to produce wine. He's known for Illy coffee, or the espresso that you'll see pretty much anywhere in Italy. And so he really had a desire to make wine. Initially, he wanted to make wine on an island, and he was kind of looking around, trying to figure out what vineyard site, where he wanted to be. He didn't really know. And so he stumbled upon this area in Montalcino that actually was just occupied by a shepherd and his sheep. And it was unpopulated. There was nothing done to the soil. And so actually when he started, the soil was very lacking in nutrients. So he, in 1997, started to produce, or started to plant at least, and get that area started. As he was working, he learned about biodynamics, and really has an entire ethos of respecting the land that you're working with. And now today, fast forward, you can see by how beautiful the land is, how densely populated some of the vines are, which his bonsai vineyard is one of the most densely populated areas of land by vines in the entire world. So yeah, the whole winery is now biodynamic, which takes a lot. You have to have a full biodiversity ecosystem that you're constantly putting your energy into. So they have bees on the property, they have animals like goats and different, livestock on the property. They have vegetation that all kind of helps create a balanced environment for the vines. And for everything else. There's olive trees on on this property as well. So yeah, it's a really special place, and I think that that's their entire mindset when it comes to the wines. Sebastian is a young winemaker who has recently started, in the past couple of years, has started making the wines, and he has taken a lot of time and energy, and you can kind of feel that energy in the wine. So the wine that you're going to be tasting, the Brunello, that one was first produced in 2003. And so that's when they were fully biodynamic at that time.
Here's the facility. It is really made with this incredible architectural feature, gravity flow being important, biodynamics, ethos important. And you know, even though this is built on a fairly steep curve in a downward direction, all the tanks are leveled, and they just do some really cool stuff here. And you get this amazing, almost spiritual feeling on the property.
Yeah, yeah. It's lovely. The big thing that they talk about a lot is energy and energy flowing and having good kind of energy around the property. So you definitely see that that is the importance there.
I'm just going to go back a couple, Heather, and talk. You mentioned the bonsai. This is a experimental block, and I know we're talking about Brunello to Montalcino, but we do get a few bottles of the bonsai, which is one of the most densely planted vineyards in Italy, if not
the world. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember how many vines it is, like per hectare? It's like some crazy
It's
number.
like over it's like 62,000 vines.
Yeah, it's like, and they're
Yeah.
they're literally like bonsai. They're teeny little plants. They make teeny little intense amounts of fruit, and the bonsai is a pure expression of that vineyard.
Yeah.
We have some on the website if you want to check it out.
Yeah.
It is a super, I would say, collectible rarity.
Yeah, it's very hard to get. Yeah, I wish there was more because it's so lovely and you can tell.
Yeah, I went there and you know, made a nice connection with Sebastian, and our allocation is 2 bottles. So
Yeah.
and we might be the only one that got it in LA. I'm not sure.
Yeah, honestly, I think you guys were. There hasn't been like any more in so long, and we don't even have any, you know, in the country.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, we like finding little treasures like that. It is certainly very special. But so is this wine, the Riserva. It's a Riserva. B, it's from this magnificent estate. C, it's a 2016, which is definitely a plus for this wine.
Yeah.
What is the rule for it to be a Riserva, Heather?
So Riserva, it's going to need 24 months aging, and then it needs to be reserved for about 6 years before it's released.
So this is probably the current vintage, or just, you know, maybe got the 17 available now, but
yeah,
we picked up this a little while back, and I was able to taste this at the winery too, and it's a tremendous wine. And when we were pouring it into the jars, I was just thrilled because I think everyone's going to love this wine. And you look at some of the scores that this wine gets, it's definitely a classic. We're gonna learn about this wine now. Anything you want us to know about this Riserva?
So this one has 24 months in oak, and then it has 18 months in cement. And I think that 18 months in cement actually does it a lot of service because cement is porous. So you get a little bit more of this roundness and this richness to it. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, we are definitely going to enjoy it.
Excellent.
Coming in about $180 for a 2016 Riserva with this type of pedigree is absolutely on point. These wines do tend to soar past the 200 number pretty quickly. And we're really excited to share this wine with you. I do have approximately a dozen bottles remaining going into this event. So if any of you want a special occasion opportunity here, this is a wine that will potentially live for the rest of your lives. It's got a great shelf potential. You can sneak it open now, but I think its best days are probably in around
2026 and beyond. We're going to taste it now, Heather, with our group. I want to thank you for making time to talk to us about Podere Ripi, and we encourage. All right. Heroes of Brunello. So we tasted through, we tasted all the wines. We've got to meet Heather. Podere Ripi, $180. Yep. That's the Riserva level. And this is the great producer level. And this wine is, super special. And I want to thank you guys for supporting us tonight and being here to taste these gems from Italy. I hope you got your little taste of some excellence. I have so many other wines that could have been featured in here. I love all the wines that we carry. If you go to, let's just do that. Let's go to Merchant of Wine, go to the regions, go to Italy, go to Piedmont, and pull up everything that we carry. I have a pretty large assortment. One of my favorite new white varieties now, Rosso. Love it. We've got some Barbaresco from Produttori, which we visited. I've got the 19 vintage, about $60. Alta Longa, the sparkling wine from
That was
Germano. Really, really good, huh? Oduero,
also good.
super producer. We didn't visit Cavialotto, but they're frequently featured on my programs. I just bought the 19s that are on their way. And this is the kind of wine that I love to carry for. I'd love to have 10 vintages of the Cavialotto. Also, Giulia's wines, we'll buy them as we can afford them. I'll take a little position on the 21s when they come in for sure. 21's going to be a very good vintage. Barolos can get expensive. You get into Gaia at $500 and Giacosa, the Riserva, $800. And by the way, these wines between $70 and $100 a bottle, they're going to be $50 more probably by the end of next year. They're going up hard. The areas taking the whole all lifting up. They all worked super hard to make their wines. The land is selling for $1.5 million a hectare. And to make that math work, the wines are moving towards $200 a bottle. And that is what's going to happen with Barolo. It's on its way. I will tell you, if I could find great deals, I would focus on them. This is the best deal on my website right now, $80 for a 2018 single vineyard Canubi. They got 97 points. That's because this is a pretty large producer. Da Milano, really good, but they're pretty large and they put a lot of their eggs in the American basket. We were able to buy some at a pretty severe price discount. That should be over $100 a bottle for Canubi. I'm looking for deals in Barolo to bring onto the website because they're going to go up pretty hard in price. I'm just warning you. The days of $70, $80 bottles of wine that say Barolo are fewer than they are many. And I think, when you're paying $250 a bottle for Burgundy, there's so many Bordeaux's that push the price points. This region will definitely climb in value, and they know it. They know it, and they're telling their friends and family, make sure you have some Barolo put down. It's on its way. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed our flight tonight. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the weeks to come. Next week is Christmas. So Merry Christmas to all of you. A Happy New Year. The first Zoom we do in January is free. And we're talking about 2025, where we're at, what's, the top 100 wines of the world. We're going to explore that. We're going to talk about some of the harvest conditions in 24, what vintages, what places were good, what things we can look forward to, and what some of the challenges are that are in 25. So if you just want to come and hang out, grab a glass of wine at home, chat with me on Zoom, I'd love that. That's our first Zoom of January. Just let us know you want to do it, and we'll make sure you get the invitation. Sign up, it's free. And I thank you all. Have a great holiday season. And don't forget, buy wine from my family if you can. Someone's got to pay the bills. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.